Welcome to Life Stories, where we dive into real-life journeys of love, betrayal, and triumph. Today, we bring you the story of Emily Johnson, a successful interior designer who, after years of enduring emotional neglect and betrayal, finds herself at a crossroads. Her life takes an unexpected turn when she uncovers the shocking truth about her husband and sister. Join us as we follow Emily's journey of self-discovery, strength, and revenge. It's a story of overcoming adversity and taking control of your own destiny. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories and start this powerful journey with us today. It was a quiet afternoon in Los Angeles. The sun streamed through the large windows of my studio, casting soft rays that danced across the walls. I was bent over my large design board, carefully sketching out the details for a new client. The peaceful hum of my workspace brought me a rare moment of tranquility amidst the hustle of my life. I had worked hard to reach this point, after 10 years of building my reputation in the interior design world. I had finally opened my own firm, and business was thriving. I had earned my place among law's elite, and it felt like the culmination of years of late nights and sacrifice. Yet, as the clock on the wall ticked on, my peace was slowly replaced with the familiar pang of loneliness. I glanced at my phone, already knowing what I'd see. Another message from Ryan, my husband of 10 years. Working late again. Should I save dinner for you? I sighed softly, pressing the send button before I set the phone down. The answer was always the same. He was too busy. Too busy for dinner. Too busy for me. It was his usual excuse. As an investment advisor, his work demanded a lot of his time, or so he claimed. But as the months turned into years, I had begun to question just how much of it was really about work. The truth was, our marriage had grown cold. The spark that once defined us seemed to flicker out, leaving behind only a dull warmth. I had tried everything, planning romantic getaways, taking time off work to focus on us, but nothing seemed to reach him anymore. He wasn't the man I had married. The man who once held me close and whispered sweet words of affection. Now, he barely glanced my way. His mind always elsewhere. We were supposed to celebrate our anniversary next month. I had planned the perfect trip, a private villa in Hawaii. His favorite activities, everything to make him smile again. Just the thought of seeing his face light up at the surprise made me feel hopeful. If only for a moment. But hope was a fleeting emotion. A dream I had learned to push aside, as it often led to disappointment. Just as I was lost in thought, my phone rang. It was Ashley, my younger sister. Her voice, always high-pitched and bubbly, was a stark contrast to the quiet stillness of the house. "Hey, Em, can you talk?" I smiled, grateful for the distraction. "Of course. What's up?" "I have some news. Mom and Dad are coming to the city this weekend. How about we have dinner together?" she asked. I could hear the excitement in her voice. Ashley had always been the center of attention in our family. Growing up, she was the beauty, the outgoing one, while I played the role of the responsible older sister. It was a dynamic that had never bothered me, until recently. "Well, that sounds great," I said after a moment of thought. "I've been meaning to catch up with them. I have some things to finalize for our anniversary trip with Ryan. But it's been a while since I've seen them, so I can make it work." "Perfect. Oh, and guess what?" Ashley continued, her voice rising with excitement. "Brad gave me a real diamond. He finally proposed properly." Brad was Ashley's fiancé, wealthy, successful, and more than capable of providing the lavish lifestyle Ashley craved. I couldn't help but smile, genuinely happy for her, though a small part of me felt a pang of envy. She had everything I once thought I would have. A loving fiancé, a family that doted on her, and now, a diamond that sparkled brighter than anything I could offer. "Well, congratulations, Ash. I can't wait to see it," I said, trying to keep my voice light. But there was an undercurrent of sadness in me that I couldn't shake. I had once dreamed of a love like that, pure, effortless, but somewhere along the way, Ryan and I had lost that connection. After hanging up with Ashley, I stared out the window of my study. Across the street, I saw my neighbors preparing dinner together. The children were running around, their laughter filling the air, while the couple, so effortlessly in sync, cooked side by side. It was the kind of family I had always imagined for myself. The kind I had hoped Ryan and I would build together. But as I stood there, watching the warmth and connection between them, I felt a tightness in my chest. When had things between Ryan and me become so cold? When had the love we once shared disappeared, replaced by silence and indifference? The phone rang again, pulling me out of my thoughts. This time, it was my father. "How are you, Em?" His voice was gentle, filled with concern. "I'm fine, Dad," I replied, trying to sound upbeat. "I heard from Ashley, and I'm looking forward to seeing you both this weekend." There was a slight hesitation in his voice. "Well, there's been a sudden change of plans. Could we meet on Saturday at noon instead?" I frowned, trying to mask my disappointment. "Saturday? I have a big project deadline coming up. But I'll try to adjust my schedule." "It's important," he insisted. "Ashley will be disappointed, but we'll catch you next time." I hesitated for a moment. Growing up, I had always felt like second place in my parents' eyes. Ashley had always been the star, the one everyone adored, while I was the one who quietly took on responsibility. But I didn't want to let it affect me. "Okay, Saturday noon works," I said, though the irritation in my voice was hard to hide. "I'll make it work." The call ended, and I turned back to my design board. But I couldn't focus. The steady hum of the clock on the wall was too loud. The silence in the house too overwhelming. The family I had once thought I could rely on, my husband, my parents, my sister, had all somehow turned away from me, leaving me to navigate this new chapter of my life on my own. Just then, I heard the sound of the door opening, and I turned expectantly. Could it be Ryan? But the only sound that followed was the familiar pop of a beer can. I closed my eyes for a moment, willing myself to stay calm. "Welcome home," I said softly, trying to sound welcoming despite the weight in my chest. "Were you working late?" Ryan looked at me with tired eyes, his face as handsome as ever, though his gaze lacked the warmth it once held. "Yeah, the foster account is complicated. I'll be working late all week." I nodded, my heart sinking further. I tried to kiss him on the cheek, but he brushed past me, heading into the living room. "Ryan, about our anniversary next month," I began, but he cut me off. "Sorry, I have to take this," he said, answering his phone with a detached air. I watched as he walked away, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen. The dinner I had prepared sat on the counter, cold and untouched. As the night stretched on, I couldn't help but wonder, was this really my life now? Was I destined to be trapped in this lonely existence, always reaching out, but never truly connecting? The question lingered in my mind long after I turned off the lights and went to bed. The next morning, I woke early to get to work. The final stages of a large office building renovation project were approaching, and I was determined to make sure everything was perfect. My assistant, Jennifer, and I were meticulously going over the details, ensuring the wallpaper matched the blueprints. The lighting fixtures were aligned to the designs. Every inch had to be flawless, as it was a project for one of my wealthiest clients. I was driven, focused, and for the first time in a while, completely consumed by my work. But as I drove back to the office later that afternoon, my mind wandered back to my marriage. What had happened to us? What had happened to the love we once shared? I couldn't deny the strain between Ryan and me was becoming unbearable. No amount of design work or successful projects could fill the emptiness that had begun to take root in my heart. It was at a traffic light, my phone buzzing with emails from clients, that the world suddenly spun. A car came out of nowhere and slammed into mine from the left, sending me careening into the intersection. The sound of glass shattering and metal crunching overwhelmed everything. I felt a sharp pain in my side. Then a dull ache spread across my body as everything went dark. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My head throbbed, and a sharp pain shot through my left arm. Everything felt foggy. The sterile smell of the hospital, the beeping of the monitors, and the low murmur of voices made my world seem distant and unreal. Slowly, I turned my head and saw Rachel, my best friend, sitting beside me, her face filled with concern. "Thank goodness you're awake," Rachel said, her voice a comfort amidst the chaos in my mind. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry, and my words came out in a croak. "What happened? A drunk driver hit you. Emily, you're lucky it wasn't worse. You've got some bruises, a mild concussion, and a broken arm, but nothing serious." Rachel offered me a sip of water. "You'll need to rest for a while." "Ryan?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But my heart already knew the answer. Ryan hadn't been there when I woke up. Of course, he hadn't been. Why would he? He had more important things to do. More clients to entertain. More business to take care of. Rachel hesitated before answering. "He was here, but he left right after you woke up. There was an urgent call about work." It was always about work with him, wasn't it? I closed my eyes for a moment, the sting of her words sinking in deeper than I'd expected. Ryan's absence was no surprise. But it still hurt. It always did. That evening, Ryan came to the hospital. But his visit was brief. He seemed distracted, looking at his watch every few minutes. He asked if I was okay with a sense of concern that felt more like an obligation than genuine care. "I'm fine," I said, my voice forced as I tried to smile through the pain. "You should get back to work. I'll be okay." His face relaxed slightly as if my reassurance eased his guilt. "I'm sorry, Emily. I have a business trip to Chicago tomorrow. It's a major account. I'll be gone for a few days." A business trip? After everything that had happened. That was all he could say? A business trip? I tried not to let my bitterness show. But it was impossible to keep the edge from creeping into my voice. "I see," I replied, my words flat. "I'm sure the foster group won't mind if you take a few days off. Right?" Ryan's expression shifted for a moment, and I could swear I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by the familiar indifference. "I'll call you later," he said quickly, his voice suddenly cold. He turned and walked out without another word, leaving me in the sterile silence of the hospital room. I tried to push aside the hurt. After all, this was nothing new. This was Ryan, distant, detached, always somewhere else, never truly present. But as I lay there in that lonely room, the question that haunted me since our marriage began bubbled to the surface. How did we get here? How did I go from being the love of his life to just another afterthought? The next day, while I was still in the hospital, I received a message from my parents. They were coming by, as promised, but when they arrived, their visit lasted only 15 minutes. My mother, Carol, looked at me with concern in her eyes. But there was something distant about her gaze. "We have a prior engagement," she said, her voice strained. "We have to leave." "A prior engagement?" I repeated, confused. "What is it?" "Just something important," she replied vaguely, avoiding my eyes. "But we're glad to see you're doing well." I watched as they left, feeling more alone than ever. It was as if my parents were embarrassed to be associated with me. Or perhaps they simply didn't want to deal with the reality of what was happening. It was always the same. Ashley, their precious little girl, had a way of pulling them in, leaving me on the outside, looking in. As the days passed, my physical injuries healed, the bruises faded, and my arm was slowly mended in a cast. But the emotional wounds were much deeper, and they had only just begun to surface. I couldn't escape the haunting truth. I had been abandoned by the people I loved most. Ryan, my husband, and my parents, each had failed me in their own way. And I was beginning to see something I had refused to acknowledge for so long. I had been living in a lie. The days in the hospital passed slowly. As the pain in my body eased, a different kind of pain took its place, a sharp, bitter ache in my chest. The reality of my life was dawning on me, and I couldn't push it away any longer. Ryan and Ashley, my sister, were not just betraying me, they were flaunting it. It was a painful truth I couldn't ignore. The love and trust I had once placed in them had crumbled, replaced by a cold, Cruel betrayal. But I wasn't going to let that define me. Not anymore. One evening, Rachel came to visit me as she always did. She had been my rock through this entire ordeal. I could see the concern in her eyes. The way she hesitated when speaking. As if she feared what I might do next. But I was done with waiting. I had spent too long letting people walk all over me. Allowing Ryan and my family to treat me as though I was invisible. Now, I was ready to take control of my life. I've made a decision, I told Rachel, my voice steady but filled with determination. I'm filing for divorce. Rachel looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of support and concern. Are you sure, Emily? This is huge. You've been with him for so long. I'm sure, I replied, my gaze unwavering. I've spent 10 years being the wife he wanted me to be. The woman he expected me to be. But that's not who I am anymore. I can't keep living this lie. Pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Rachel nodded, a soft smile on her lips. I'm here for you, whatever you need. With Rachel's support, I began the process of gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator. Someone who could help me uncover the full extent of Ryan's betrayal. It didn't take long for him to gather the proof I needed, photos, phone records, and most damning of all, financial statements showing that Ryan had spent money on a luxury vacation using my credit card while I was in the hospital. I was livid. They had stolen my life, my love, and my money, and now, they would pay. The divorce lawyer I found, Tom Harris, was everything I needed, calm, methodical, and sharp. He listened carefully as I laid out my case. I want to make sure he pays for this, I told him, my voice cold. Not just financially. I want him to feel the weight of what he's done. I want to make sure he knows that I won't be his victim anymore. Tom nodded thoughtfully. You're in a strong position. California is a no-fault divorce state. But you have evidence of his affair. And that will help with the property division. We'll make sure you get what you deserve. As the days went by, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I was no longer the woman who had stood by silently, hoping for change. I was taking back my life. Step by step. The weight of betrayal was still heavy on my heart. But each action I took made it a little lighter. I started working again, throwing myself into my projects, regaining the focus that I had once lost. My design business was flourishing. And I wasn't going to let Ryan or anyone else take that away from me. One day, I received a call from Mike, the private investigator. He had uncovered something crucial. I've got the evidence you need, he said. Your sister, Ashley, has been carrying on an affair with Brad, her fiancé. It's all coming out. She's hiding it from him. But we've got the proof. I didn't feel anger this time. I just felt numb. Of course, Ashley had been lying to everyone. She was always the golden girl, always the center of attention. But now, the truth was out. I didn't need to dwell on it anymore. I had all the pieces I needed to take action. Soon after, things started moving quickly. I received a call from William Foster, one of Ryan's biggest clients. The same client I had been working with on a renovation project for his penthouse. He'd heard about the divorce and wanted to meet. The tone of his voice was serious. And I could tell that the connection between Ryan and his business dealings was starting to unravel. Your husband has been difficult, Foster said, his voice tight. And now, with everything that's happened, I think it's best we reconsider our business relationship. It was happening. Ryan's world was starting to crumble, piece by piece. And for once, I wasn't the one falling apart. I was the one who was in control. I had made my decision. And I was following through. I would get my life back. This was just the beginning. That evening, as I sat in my living room, going over the details for the divorce filing, I thought about everything I had lost, and everything I had gained. It wasn't just about the money or the betrayal. It was about reclaiming my identity, my strength, and my future. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a woman on a mission. And I was going to make sure Ryan and Ashley understood the true cost of their actions. The phone rang, breaking my thoughts. It was Rachel again, always there when I needed her. I picked up, a small smile tugging at my lips. You're doing it, Emily, she said softly. You're finally doing it. And I wasn't going to let anyone dictate my happiness anymore. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. But I was ready for it. I was stronger than I had ever been. And nothing, not Ryan, not Ashley, not anyone, was going to take that away from me. A year later, standing at the top of a skyscraper in downtown Los Angeles, I couldn't help but marvel at how far I had come. The grand opening of my new interior design office was a testament to my hard work and resilience. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, the skyline glowing in the golden light of the setting sun. I raised a glass of champagne in celebration, my heart lighter than it had been in so long. Rachel was there, of course, right by my side as she had been every step of the way. She was more than a friend to me, she was family. She had watched me rebuild myself from the ground up, and her unwavering support had been my anchor. I'm proud of you, Em, she said, a soft smile tugging at her lips. You've done it, you've truly done it, I smiled back, the weight of the past finally lifting. We've done it, I corrected her. I couldn't have done any of this without you. The road to this moment hadn't been easy. The divorce, the betrayal, the countless sleepless nights, it had all led me here, to a life that was fully mine again. My marriage, once the center of my world, was now a distant memory, replaced with a renewed sense of purpose and a future full of possibilities. Ryan and Ashley, for all their deception, had unknowingly given me the strength to rediscover myself. I had rebuilt my life. And it was better than ever. I was no longer a victim of my circumstances. I had become the architect of my own destiny. Thank you for following my story. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories for more videos like this. The journey of reclaiming your life, no matter the obstacles, is always worth it. Until next time.